First and foremost, all praises are due to Yahweh Bashem Hawashai, Bashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Salutations to the brothers around the four corners of the earth who are teaching this word in truth and sincerity. And shalom to the hopeful elect who listen and believe in this word. This is Brother Karat Zabad coming at you with another lesson. This one is entitled, Be Not Unequally Yoked with Unbelievers. We're going to start off with 2 Corinthians, the 6th chapter, verse 14. Be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? So obviously, the unbelievers are those who haven't hearkened to this truth. You have the apostles, the elders, the teachers, the ministers, the bishops that are preaching this gospel, particularly from Great Millstone, Great Millstone and its affiliates, who are preaching this gospel around the four corners of the earth, here in America, Babylon, and all around the world. So the word is going out. So you're going to have many unbelievers, and they fall under the 2/3, of the Hebrew Israelites who aren't going to hearken to this word. And then you have the 1/3 hope for elect, who are really the people that the apostles and the elders and the teachers are supposed to be gearing this message towards. Because everybody who's a Hebrew Israelite is not going to make it on the day of the Lord, either before or during that day. So let's continue on here. Let's see let's look at this word yoked. What is that talking about? Let's go to the interlinear and get the Greek translation of that word. Okay. This is the Greek translation of yoke.
Strong's G 2086. Heterazugeo. Heterazugeo.
Okay, and what we have here is to come under an unequal or different yoke, to be unequally yoked. So if you're striving for righteousness and not piling iniquity upon iniquity, striving to be righteous and not sin, then you're unequally yoked with somebody who is still sinning. So you may have friends or former friends that are still, smoking weed or cigarettes, that are still eating pork, that are still, committing adultery, that are stealing, robbing. Then you need to not be around them because you can't be unequally yoked. And they're dabbling in unrighteousness and you're striving for righteousness after the example of Yahushua. So you're unequally yoked, okay? So you're not to have fellowship with them. Let's look at the other definition here. To have fellowship with one who is not an equal. Okay, so they're not equal with you because you're striving for righteousness. Where the apostle, speaking about the apostle Paul, is forbidding Christians to have intercourse with idolaters. And when it says Christians, it's talking about the Hebrew Israelites. The first Christians were Hebrew Israelites because the fact is the word Christos, which means Christ or the Messiah, that's the Greek translation of Hamashiach, the Messiah. So when Paul went to Asia Minor and parts of Greece, he was going after the Hebrew Israelites who they lost their language. They were no longer speaking Hebrew. They were speaking Greek. So they named the Christos or the Messiah. That brings the word Christian. So the first Christians were Hebrew Israelites. Okay, not talking about we're not talking about the Christians now, the Christians in the black church and etc. Not them. Okay, the first Christians really were the Hebrew Israelites. It's just that they were in Greece, so they were speaking the language of Greece. So Christos is the name of the Messiah in Greek. The real name is Hamashiach. That's the Hebrew, just to make that clear for you. So you're not to have intercourse. You're not to be involved with idolaters or people who are unequally yoked. Let's go back here. Let's read that again. 2 Corinthians, the 6th chapter, the 14th verse. Be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? If you believe in this truth, then you've been brought into the light. Your spirit has been awakened. You've been quickened. You understand Yahushua was here. He died. He was resurrected. And he's coming back for the elect. And he's coming back to destroy Babylon. To take vengeance on his enemies. You have a great understanding of that. So you're in the light. You understand the light. You're not in the dark any longer. So you're not to have communion with people who are in the dark. Now, this word is going out, like I said, all around the world, but people will still not hearken to the word who are Hebrew Israelites, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. No matter what you do, some people just aren't going to come to the light. They're going to stay in the darkness. That's why 2/3 of us have to be destroyed, okay? Either before the day of the Lord or during the day of the Lord. 2/3 will be destroyed in the lake of fire. That's going to be the nuclear bombs coming from the other countries, hitting here in Babylon, America, as well as the chariot fire coming out of the chariots, the laser fire. So let's continue on. 2 Corinthians, the 6th chapter, verse 15. In what concord hath Yahushai, Hamashiach, with Belial? Or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? Now we know Belial is another name for Satan, all right, which means worthless, wicked. And we know an infidel is somebody who has no trust in the Lord, Yahweh. They don't trust in the Most High. They have no trust at all in Yahweh. They don't believe, basically. So, if Christ has no interactions or intercourse with Belial, with Satan, what business of yours is it to do the same thing, okay? Are you supposed to be having concord with Satan if Christ isn't? Or should I say, Hamashiach Yahushai? You're to have no affiliations with anybody that is unrighteous. So you're to follow the example of Yahushai. That's what you're supposed to be doing to the best of your ability. You're not going to be perfect like him because he was perfect, but he had to be perfect. He had to come in a human form, so that would give us the possibility when he died and was resurrected. That's going to give us the possibility to have the laws, statutes, and commandments put in our inward parts where we'll be perfect. If we're part of that elect on the first run, and then if you're not part of the elect, the 1/3, you'll be born through the 1/3 loins of the elect that make it into the kingdom. So you will be perfect eventually. All of Israel will be united eventually, and everybody will be perfect. You won't sin. You won't know what sin is. You won't have these carnal bodies, these bodies that are corrupt. Let's continue on. 2 Corinthians, we have the 6th chapter. Let's go to the 16th verse. In what agreement hath the temple of Yahweh with idols? And we know idol is false gods or image of a heathen god, all right? Or anything that you give, attentive that you worship. Even these celebrities can be seen as idols. A Mercedes-Benz could be an idol. Nike shoes or Jordans are an idol because you're looking at the status symbol. It's Air Jordans, when it's just a piece of leather. But you're giving it prominence because of the fact that they're Air Jordans and they're $200-something. So you're making that into an idol. So many things can be made into an idol. Let's read that again. 2 Corinthians, the 6th chapter, and we have the 16th verse. In what agreement hath the temple of Yahweh with idols? For ye are the temple of the living God, the living Lord, I should say. As the Lord hath said, I will dwell in them. So you are the temple of the living Lord, okay? So, you have the Lord within you. And he says, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their Lord, and they shall be my people. So if you're the temple of the living Lord, then you shouldn't be defiling your temple. And defiling your temple could include even like I said, being unequally yoked with unrighteous people, smoking weed, you're defiling your temple, eating pork, eating crustaceans, okay, things of that nature, shrimp and lobster, you're defiling your temple. Committing adultery, fornication, you're defiling your temple, okay? Because, the living Lord, that's he's in you, okay? He's in you, okay? So you're defiling your temple when you sin and pile iniquity upon iniquity, okay? Because he dwells in you, all right? Let's continue on. Let's go to, I have a precept. Let's go to 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, 1 Corinthians 5, and we have let's read verse 9. 1 Corinthians 5 and verse 9. I wrote unto you in an epistle not to have company with fornicators. Now, this is Paul speaking to the congregation in Corinth, which was a province in Greece. Okay, it was an area in Greece. So he's saying, I wrote to you in an epistle not to have company with fornicators. Verse 10, yet not altogether with the fornicators of this world, or with the covetous, or extortioners, or idolaters, for then must ye needs go out of the world. All right? Let's get the NLT for that. See what that says, okay? Translation comparison. This is the NLT, 1 Corinthians 5 and 10. See here? But I wasn't talking about unbelievers who indulge in sexual sin, or are greedy, or cheat people, or worship idols. You would have to leave this world to avoid people like that, okay? And that makes sense, okay? Okay? So it says, yet not altogether with the fornicators of this world, or with the covetous, or extortioners, or with idolaters, for then must ye needs go out of the world. Because, you're gonna have those people regardless. You're gonna have people that, are gonna be around you that are fornicators, that are sinners, no matter what. But you're still to avoid them to the best of your ability, all right? Let's see here, 1 Corinthians 5, and let's read verse 11. 1 Corinthians 5 and 11. But now I have written unto you not to keep company if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator. Okay, now he was talking about those that were in the world, okay, who were sinners, who were not believers in verse 10. That's what he was talking about. Those who are of this world. Now he's talking about brothers, okay, people that are in the truth with you, that know this truth, but are still committing sin. Let's read that again. 1 Corinthians 5, verse 11. But now I have written unto you not to keep company if any man is called a brother be a fornicator, or covetous, or an adulterer, or a railer, or a drunkard, or an extortioner, with such and one, no, not to eat. All right. Let's get the I'm gonna get the NLT for that too. Okay. 1 Corinthians 5 and 11. This is the NLT. I meant that you are not to associate with anyone who claims to be a believer. So you got many in this truth, who claim to be a believer, but they're still sinning. They're still doing wickedness. Okay. So I meant that you are not to associate with anyone who claims to be a believer, yet indulges in sexual sin, or is greedy, or worships idols, or is abusive, or is a drunkard, or cheats people. Don't even eat with such people. You see there? So this is talking about those that are in the truth, but they're still sinning. You're not supposed to even associate with them. All right? You're not supposed to associate with them also. Doesn't matter if they say, well, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, but if they're still sinning and piling iniquity upon iniquity, you're not to be around them. Let's continue on. Let's go to verse 12. 1 Corinthians 5, verse 12. For what have I to do to judge them also that are without? Do not ye judge them that are within? Let's get the NLT for that one also. This is 1 Corinthians 5 and 12, the NLT. It isn't my responsibility to judge outsiders, but it certainly is your responsibility to judge those inside the church who are sinning. So it's not our responsibility to judge outsiders, those that are outside of this truth. But those that are in the truth that claim that they're Hebrew Israelites, all right, it is your responsibility to judge those inside the church who are sinning. And you judge according to the word, all right? If they're doing something that's offhand, that's wicked, then you can judge them according to this word. You can reprove them or correct them, is what Paul is saying. Okay, so I think that was all I had there. So I hope this lesson was very edifying to you. And I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak Wadash, Shalom.